Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sitting in a different spot today, so I'm going to test the lighting, and we will be doing inking today. So I will hop straight into it and get started. I'll show you some samples, and don't have samples of all that we're doing today. I'll show you as I go along, but I'll show you some samples of some journals that I've got and the different applications that I've used journals for. You would have seen posts in here with a recent journal that I started to do, and I'll be demonstrating that application, which is just journaling day-to-day life. So journaling's a lot of fun. Ink is very immediate to use. It's very accessible. Most people have got some kind of ink apparatus in their home, whether it be a biro or an ink pen or a fine liner. But I'm going to play with ink itself too, with a brush, and demonstrate that. And as life goes, we've got a dog here that's decided he wants to go outside now. He's been there all morning, but no, he wants to go outside now. So I'll just let him out. Here you go, Bo. Go to the toilet. Okay, so I'll flip you around and we will get into it. And I'll get a bit closer so that you can really see. I'll put that there, so make sure it's all in focus. Okay, now let me double check. We've got action. I've just got a plate to use as a palette, some water here. It pays to have a lot of water whenever you're working in any kind of liquid, whether it be inks or watercolour. Yeah, I think that's, I'm just going to check. That's good, sound's working. Okay. So you can use Indian ink, liquid Indian ink, but I'm actually going to use just some old, this is ink from a printer that I don't use anymore. So a refill, the printer that I used to be able to refill. So I'm just going to use that, just black ink, just because I, may as well use it up. And I've got all sorts of bits and pieces here, your old style ink pens, and there's so many things that you can use with it. And a stick. I said to get a stick out of the garden. You get a stick out of the garden that's about the size of a pencil and break it. I've got a couple of sticks here that stay in my ink little collection, ink pen collection. So there's a few there. And this is a gel pen, I think. Oh, yes, gel pen. I use that a lot for journaling. Okay. This is an example of a newsletter that I did. It's kind of a journaling technique where you write and draw little pictures, but I used it for a newsletter. Actually, I don't know if it actually went out, but I was going to use it as a newsletter. And this is a fun way of documenting things. You think of all sorts of ways that you can use inking for. So this was a newsletter, and with some fun drawings. I'll just bring that up for you to have a look. And this is the kind of thing that you can do, just simple little drawings to document your day-to-day life. And sometimes capturing the ordinary in your life can be quite fun. You don't have to get really complex. And so this is some of my church notes, documenting church notes, and I'm illustrating. I mean, taking into account I am a children's book illustrator, so, you know, I'm practice at this, but that just goes to show you what you can, the sort of things you can do. And what I've got in here. This is all my church notes as well, and some of them are words with directional things, and some I've drawn and then I've inked over. So it's kind of just doodling at church and just writing down things that stand out to me. So that's one of my ones from church. And that's just a bit of a sample of practicing. I was kind of practicing, this is a church note too, but I was practicing some different lettering, and so I can look up other people's typography and be inspired from that. And this is also ink and texture, I think, in there. Adding a bit of colour. That's a marker. They're all like a marker, like a fine liner in there. That's all fine liner work. The book's falling apart. And these have been coloured. So they're ink, these have been done with biro, and then I've coloured them. So I've used watercolour to colour them, but they've all started out with a black biro. That's a combination of biro and a marker. And that's coloured biro, I think that one was. And less biro, more paint there. But that gives you a bit of an example of what you can use, the different effects from different ones. But we'll do some now here so I can show you. Okay, so I'll work on this little one. Okay. Just make sure you're in, you can see, yes. And I will get a brush. Now, I really love this kind of brush. Can you see how this brush is, it's quite wide, you know, it's not a little tiny one, but it's got a very, very fine tip. It's very, very fine tip. This brush enables me to get a lot of water on the brush or a lot of paint on the brush, whatever I'm using it for, but at the same time do details. So I'll start with the brush, and I'm going to move you in closer again. Okay. And I'll pour some ink out. Excuse my hand for a tick. So I'll just show you with the brush. So you can get what will I do? I'm not sure what to do at the moment, but you can get really broad strokes right down to very, very thin. Like that. That's the advantage of having a nice, good pointed brush. And you can clean it up there. Like so. The other thing you can do is you can kind of use it like watercolors. And while it's wet, I'm rinsing out the brush, filling it with just clean water, and then picking up the ink. Now this ink is quite potent, so I've used a lot, so it might be a bit tricky to rinsing it out again. And keep tissues or a cloth with you. If I start scrubbing in there, it won't look as clean. So I just keep rinsing out, going round and round, dabbing on my brush a bit. I should have rinsed there. Okay, so you can get all sorts of effects. And if you let it run by tilting, and you can get the ink and tap into it like that. I'm just holding it on my finger and tapping. And then if I dip the ink pen in there, we can play with that too. I'm going to do a coffee mug because that is a big part of my day. Coffee mug. This is the gel pen. So I'll use the gel pen to draw. You can either use it just as an outline or to draw. So I will do the handle with it. It's a bit of a strange looking cup, but there you go. And I'll get a smaller brush. I'll just get a smaller brush, I'll wet it, And I'm picking up just a little bit of ink and diluting it a bit. And I'll put it over that where I've drawn for a bit of a shadow. So that creates another tone. So maybe the shadow of where the cup's sitting. I'm going to give it a bit of a rim. That's still pretty wet at the top, so I can go back in there. Give my mug a rim. So you can just doodle and play and see what happens. These little dots are wet. I put on the brush and then I can get a pen and just drag the ink out from it. So I didn't plan what I was going to draw. I've just started messing around with it. But just to give you an idea of mark making. And then the sticks. So you're wondering what the sticks are about? You just use the sticks just like you would a brush. So I'm hoping you can see that. You see how that's broken on the end? So if I dip that into the ink and let it soak in a bit, then you can experiment with different sticks to see what kind of marks they will make. And it could make like good, nice grass if you were doing grass. Which I'll put a bit over here because I've got some flowers. And then I'll give these some stems. Some leaves. else we got here? I think all the pens do, there's different nibs on these pens that do slightly different things. I'm not a calligrapher, but a calligrapher would know what all these things do. I just have them because I like to have all different things to play with, and I think they were just given to me many years ago. I'll get my brush again. This time I'll just get a washed brush, but might have a little bit of ink left on it. Then I'll dip it in the ink and see what happens. Now I'm just going to dry this off before I do any more. So excuse the dryer for a tick. there's some stubborn bits there, but that's okay. Okay, one thing that I didn't put down on our list was a white gel pen. I've got this one here. They're quite fun to have with black or dark watercolors or inking or whatever, because then you can go back in with the white to add details once you've already painted it. So this isn't quite dry, so I'll have to watch where I lean. I might just put that there. There's a bit, so I can go back in here and with the white, hang on, get it going. I think it's going. Actually, you know what I might use? I might use what we used last time. Which was the whiteout pen. Just go over a thicker line, you'll be able to see it better on camera. So the squeezy whiteout pen, this is a big one. So I will get it going. Bear with me. Is that going? I think it's going. Let's see. Just doing simple shapes so you can see that you can create an effect even with the simplest of shapes. I'll suggest some of the steam coming out of it. So I'm just now outlining the white. Might get a thicker one. Might even use the brush actually. Let's see. give it some ease by pressing down and lifting off. And sometimes when you want to accentuate, you just thicken the line up. With ink, if you thicken the line up, it just makes it jump out even more. You just draw that, or just use the paintbrush, whatever you want to do. It's harder to use the paintbrush. So that's what happens if it's not dry. So I'm trying to speed things along for you, but I would normally let all these things dry. Can I get this white marker to work? Yeah, that white line is not, that whiteout brush I think is a bit old, this one. Don't think it's the one I used the other day, I think it's a different one. So it's not playing nice, but you get the picture. So you could do something realistic, or you can just play with the mark making and experiment. and see where it leads. So with this I could keep going now. I could pull out some paint and which I might even do, and pull out some you know, colour, or even not even colour, white and black paint, and play with that again, so I can build it up a bit. So, but that's basic mark making with just a few tools. I'll give you, like I said, see all in here. Hang on, I'll get a little pointer. All in there. The whiteout pen kind of, it almost looks like a shade of white, but that wasn't as neat as I wanted to, but it looks okay. And the same with here, it was not neat, but that's, yeah, because it was old, and here's where I smudged. But there, that's the brush marks, that's the diluted brush marks. So if you see on the handle, the diluted brush marks, and you can see on the mug here the ink reacting to the water. So the pigment of the ink's coming into the water and creating effect. So that can be interesting on a, you know, like if you were doing a big flower on the center of a flower, or in the sky, or. So I might just do one more thing. I'll rinse my brush off a bit. The ink tends to stick to your brush, but I'm just going to grab the wet ink that's there, and I'll just ground that, I think. And just give it a bit of a base. And there you go. So have a play with ink, and let's see what you do. And I hope that was gave you some ideas. And I will see you soon. Bye for now.